my heart is that the church needs to be involved in doing exactly what you did, and bringing in candidates and winning elections. And there's so much power, especially with the huge churches that we have in Texas. There's so much power in that is wasted. So can you give us advice? I mean, we all go to different churches. How do we make that happen?
I think that you must take into consideration the nature of your pastor, because some are going to be open to your political activities and some are not. If yours is not, find another one. The truth of the matter is, anything the church withdraws from cankers and corrupts. Politics are corrupt because the church is primarily evacuated from it. They could not have manufactured enough votes to defeat the church if the church had voted in this last election. We're losing because we don't show up. So while I can't change the entire country, when I was pastor, I could change the direction of that one community, and we did. I have, for the last 25 years of my life, connected with pastors anywhere there was a hunger. You know, pastors don't understand how much latent power they have. They don't need to get off track and quit preaching Jesus. I told you we baptized 2,000 while we were organizing and changing the landscape politically, not only in our community, but in our county, and it impacted the state and now the country because of Randy Weber and the witness that he has in Washington, D.C. But if 10 pastors in a room take 3 or 4 Sundays or 3 or 4 meetings in a year, interview the candidates, tell your people who to vote for and who not to vote for, just simply lay out the facts, and you can transform a community. There's enough energy right in this room right now. If you get your pastors together and turn Rafael and I loose for about an hour with them, because if they can just catch the vision of getting every church member registered, put in their hands voter guides that are nonpartisan, just show them what the people that are running for office actually believe, and then lead them to the polls. Don't hope they go. Find out if they're registered, make sure they are, and expect them to go. We used to, during early voting, take one Sunday, we'd have lunch on dinner on the grounds, and the whole church would go to the polls and vote that Sunday, because there's always one Sunday in early voting where the polls are open for about 6 hours. So we just take our people. People don't do what you hope they do. They do what you lead them to do. But it's time for the church to get organized. You know, the NRA has been effective because everybody in the NRA has one thing in common: they love guns. Well, the church should be full of people that love Jesus. Amen. And if we collect around loving Jesus, who also gave us the freest country in the history of the world, then we can collect around that and lead our people to vote righteously and get the bums out and begin to transform this country. Now, I was in Washington, D.C. When they stormed the Capitol. We flew in a private Boeing. We had 65 people on the plane. We all carried our Texas flags. Everybody knew Texas was well represented last Wednesday at Washington, D.C. But when we saw people storming the Capitol, we went around and we collected in a condominium of a friend of mine, all 65 of us, and we just prayed and watched it unfold. And it was tragic what happened. I can assure you it was not Trump people that engineered that. We were infiltrated by anarchists. It was designed to destroy the legacy of Donald Trump. I got on the plane, I flew home, I got in my car, drive 3 hours to Nacogdoches, and I wept openly twice because I felt like something had died. But when I got through having my pity party, God said one thing to me that I'll never forget. Scarborough, I am still on the throne. Nothing has changed in the heavens. You just keep doing what you've been called to do. Don't quit. Let me take care of the outcome. It may be time for some of us to be arrested and be imprisoned and die. It just may be time for that. But it is not time for us to quit. It's time for us to bear down and do what we've been called to do. Do what you can, when you can, where you can, as often as you can, as long as you can. As good as you can. That's all God has said.
I want to address something concerning what Rick talked about, pastors not getting involved and pastors not doing the job to encourage their congregations to go to the polls and vote. And I want to talk from personal experience. Until 1975, I was actually kind of not very involved in the political arena. However, in 1975, 1976, I saw a man running for president in this country, and who reminded me a lot of Fidel Castro. This man's name was Jimmy Carter, outright Marxist. And I saw a communist running for office. Now, some of you maybe are squiggling in your, but make no mistake, Jimmy Carter is a Marxist. And I saw his rhetoric was no different than Castro's rhetoric. And I knew Castro's rhetoric because I was in prison for following that rhetoric. I was hoodwinked as a teenager. But anyway, because of that, I became involved, very involved in the political arena. And so I was on the board of an organization called the Religious Roundtable. At the beginning of August of 1980, Jimmy Carter was 5 points ahead of Ronald Reagan on the polls. We had a rally in Dallas, Texas, August of 1980. D. James Kennedy was there. Jerry Falwell Sr. was there. James Robinson was there. And Eddie McAteer, who was the man who had founded the Religious Roundtable. We had 20,000 people there. Most of them were pastors. And at that meeting, the whole meeting was focused on we have to get the church involved. Those 20,000 pastors went back to their churches. 1 week after that meeting, Ronald Reagan was 5 points ahead. 10-point change in the polls 1 week after our meeting. Those pastors got energized, and that November we saw an overwhelming sweep across the country. Almost a whole map was red. And then in '84, those pastors went back to their congregations, and the whole map, except for a little dot in Minnesota, that was a lonely blue dot, Mondale's hometown. That was the church. The church elected Ronald Reagan twice. And then the church went to sleep. And so I agree with Pastor Rick. It is the fault of the church. Too many of pastors want to be politically correct. It's about time to stop being politically correct and being biblically correct.